Welcome to Quarterpast 65, QP 65 as we call it. This is a program for the elderly, for people who are over 65, just like me. The program intends to provide enlightenment. Tell us what to do in difficult situations. It's also an advocacy program. But more importantly, it's a program where we are telling the world that people who are 65 and over, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 97, 100 and even more are still worth their salt. They're still alive. They have contributed so much to the society. They gave their all. Why should they now be shoved aside, pushed aside, as if they don't matter? So Quarterpast 65 is that program that tells all the over 65s to believe in themselves, to understand that their lives matter, their views matter, and that through this program, we will begin to change the narrative, some negative narrative that people have about growing old. For we all will grow old. It's a date that we have with aging, just as we all have a date with death. Today on our program, we're going to be talking to a very special woman. She's special because she's close to 70. She's knocking on the door of the 7th step. She's a lawyer. She does a lot of things. She is a motivator. I call her a bulldozer because she has not allowed anything about life to get her down. I'm talking about Dame Barrister Nneka MBA. You're welcome to Quarterpast 65.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
I want to begin by asking a question that I ask all people. As you got older, if you want to just maybe flash back a little bit, what were your own views about older people when you were growing up? How were they perceived? And how are the elderly perceived today?
Well, when we talk about when I was growing up, it's important to indicate what level. Is it as a 5-year-old, 15-year-old, 25-year-old, 35-year-old, and going forward like that.
Okay.
Of course, as a child, I remember my grandmother scared me.
Wow.
Yes, but of course, I was only 5, so it may be able to be understood. You're not used to seeing all those wrinkles. You're not used to seeing that kind of slow movement and everything. So, but by the time she passed on, I was about 18, and I wept so much because I would go to her room, and she had arthritis, and so there would be this little card that would be placed on her palm, and something used to hold it so that it wouldn't continue, to wrinkle that way, And so one day I came back from school, and I went into her room, and it was vacant. And I asked, and I was casually informed that she had passed on, and I simply broke down. So I think from my perspective, how we feel about aging varies, as you grow. Of course, for some people, it varies into warmth, love, and empathy. For other people, they just don't even care. It's almost as if they don't realize that they are also aging, and they will get to that point. So that's from my own perspective now. As I got older, I began to understand more and more about aging. Particularly, there was this aunt of mine, you know, I must have been 30-something, and she was around 60. You can imagine, 60? I'm over 60.
Yes.
You know, and so she spoke to me about relationships. And it was from her that I understood that who you are does not change. You remain you all your life. You may be all wrinkled and unable to move, but have you ever looked into the eyes of an elderly person? Look deep. They don't change. Mm-mm. Those eyes remain those eyes. And the heart is that heart. You know, if it's somebody who had been caring, the caring continues. If it is somebody who has been aggressive and antagonistic, believe me, it doesn't change. So, but for elderly people, there are people who require care. I mean, for me now, I can't shoot out of this chair like I did maybe just 10 years ago. I probably have gently get up, you know? So it's important that elderly people, there should be more attempt to understand the elderly, to understand the essence of growing, to understand that growing requires honor and respect. Remember, these are people who had given their entire life to society. Some of them had done so much, and simply because of aging, it's almost as if aging has become a curse. It's not. It's something of honor. It's something of dignity. It's something each and every one of us should look forward to getting to that stage, and by the grace of God, have those who love and care for them through those times of difficulty, when you can't get up, when you can't have a bath, when you can't feed yourself, you know. So that's really my view.
Thank you very much. The answers to your questions are so very real. That's what we want to talk about. Today, we're focusing on care for the elderly, and that is dementia. Dementia is the outgrowth of Alzheimer's. One has learned, at least the research tells us, that dementia comes after the degenerative stages of Alzheimer's. About 4.95% of Nigerians suffer from Alzheimer's. From about 60, there are rare cases of people who suffer dementia, less than that. Now, how do we care for them? You have been in a position where you cared for your mother who had dementia. And one of the things that we want to do on this program is to bring these issues to the fore. Let them see true live people who have seen the onset of dementia, the progression of dementia, and the care for someone with dementia. Can you help us to understand, first of all, how you begin to notice dementia in somebody that you have loved, and then how you care? What are the challenges?
Thank you. That is a very relevant question. The truth of the matter is that we don't. We do not know. What is critical is what you talked about: wisdom, honor for the elderly. If that happens, then we are more able to be sensitive to those changes. Dementia can come in different ways, but if it is only when you are observant that you know that somebody repeats a statement and you relate it let's look out for this. What's going on? Many people don't bother. It's an old person, it's an old person. And then you see the generation. Before you know it, it's someone that requires 100% care. And it's not easy. This 100% care is not easy. We should not deceive ourselves. We must try at the very onset to show love, to show care. Listen, if you do not show it early, forget it. You really cannot show it late. It doesn't matter how much you do. Show it early. When that person will say, my daughter, my son, God bless you. Have at least three-quarter understanding that this person is assisting me. It is so critical. You know, it said, do something for me while I'm alive. It's not when I'm dead, then you bring
roll out the drums.
200 million naira to bury me. Meanwhile, I'm there. I was there in the village. No. Let us begin to give more honor to life, generally. Because saying that is a general thing, both for old and for young. But we are focused here on the old. How do you begin to know? That was the question you asked. And I said you do not, unless you're sensitive. For example, there is certain kind of behavior that changes from that person's normal behavior. You should take it on board. If it unfortunately happens that this elderly person is living with young people, they may not, they may not really be sensitive enough. They will not understand. They would rather use it to take advantage of the elderly. Oh, she kept that money. Let me take it. She will not remember. But there's something happening that you must call the children to say, see what is happening. Oh, grandpa was not like this last month. See, I noticed something, So someone who normally takes care of that
physical person.
Suddenly you find that the person wets himself, is walking about as if nothing has happened, and you know that it would never have happened like that 1 month ago. You must raise the alarm. You must raise the alarm, because there may be other things that are coming too at that particular point in time.
Yes.
So it's important that we begin help early, and we can only begin help early when we are sensitive. When we are sensitive, then we are able to call on those who are relevant, those who can do something about that situation.
Even the medical personnel?
Yes.
For example, my mother is 98.
Hallelujah.
She's blind, but no dementia. But there are some things that they're beginning to see, to notice. I don't stay with her all the time. She's with my youngest sibling. And he said, I wasn't equipped for this. I got no training for this. But I'm coping day by day. And he's doing a stupendous job, I might add. With your mother, how did you cope with all those changes that she was exhibiting?
Okay. In my mother's case, whenever we went for a check, in fact, a cardiologist said to me, wow, your mother's heart is like that of a 7-year-old. Then she was about 75 or 80. You can imagine. But she had issues with her sight. She has started having issues remembering things. You see, the unfortunate thing about this dementia is that you can think of yourself now if you're 60 and above. We're saying quarter past 60.
Yes.
Okay.
65.
You're quarter past 60 or half past 60. Think of yourself. You are with young people in the house. You are a grandmother, grandfather. You feel you have the right to say this, you feel this, and they don't take you seriously. So my mother, for example, in my house, whenever she comes to my house, she takes over. Mm-hmm. She was firm. You give all your instructions, go off to work, and of course, the moment you leave, she changes all the instructions.
Wow.
So I come in and she has changed this. Okay, we will live in peace and not in pieces. So that was it. So gradually, you started noticing that the instructions are not falling in line. Sometimes, we've even got messages at that point. Then she will say she wants to have a bath. She goes, she takes a bath with assistance. She comes back and she tells you she wants to have a bath. Okay. And you say, but you just came out of the bathroom. No. She wants to have a bath, and it doesn't matter how long you try. Just if you love yourself, take her back in, and then she always like to have a bath, and then she feels happy, and then two times you're lucky, and then that's it. So it comes in different ways for different people. Some people shout. Dementia comes, it's like undulating. Some time of the day it gets a bit worse. Other times you appear more sober. So that's why when they see them appear sober, they say there's nothing wrong. But you wait until that time when the issue comes up. You will notice that there is a problem. So some will shout. Some would. A dear loving cousin of mine, what he did, he wanted to go out. This was in the US. He just wanted to go home to Nigeria. From America on foot. You can see, it's not normal. Meanwhile, he's wearing his pajama. So he packs his Bible, picks up one little bag, and then he tries to open the door. So they put an automatic lock on the door, so he couldn't go out. One fine day, humans are humans, the door wasn't locked. Next thing, the wife looks around. Where is he? Where is he? He called me. And we opened the door. Luckily, at the end of the road, there was a straight street. There he was, virtually,
speeding up, walking so
fast. You wonder, where did the strength come from? Mm-hmm. That's another thing. Incredible strength. Mm-hmm. Once the mind is made up, she had to run and run and run. The moment she held him, he sat down on the road. He was tired. But meanwhile, he was running. They have incredible strength, is what I'm telling you. And he had to say, come back. So she brought him back. So with them, you must be careful. They can go out and get lost.
Yes. That's one thing about dementia.
They can go out and get lost. I have experienced that. So we must be careful. Even though here, I notice in some families what they do is that they lock them up. And that is not good treatment.
Yes, that's not humane.
Just lock your mother, lock your father, and go off to work. All day. Nobody to care for her or for her needs or whatever. It's not nice. So it is very important. Look, when we begin to put ourselves into this position, we will begin to understand the need to care for the elderly. Look at people going through this and put yourself there. Would you like it? It's scary. So it's important, and if you are alive, you must get to that age. And you are saying something about 4.25% of dementia. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think so. I think what is happening is that once you get a certain age, your entire body organs begin to age and get weaker. That includes the mind. That includes all those areas that you require for thinking, for articulating and so on and so forth. And where the areas that get weak depends on the person. For some people, it is arthritis.
Yes.
For some people, it comes in the hands, it comes in the knees, it comes in the shoulders, you know. For others, they tell you, oh, it's the liver, oh, it's the kidney. So, it also happens in the mind. The only thing is that it may not be so bad, you know, that the person cannot manage. The person can just about manage, but not that you can run a business. So there are different ways and that this happens to us.
Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, you're on to 65. And you are back to talking to Barrister Dame Nneka MBA, who's been giving us some great insights into dementia and how we should care for our loved ones who have dementia. You've talked about empathy. You've talked about the need for observation. I don't think that people observe enough. It was the research that said 4.9% of people have dementia. But it looks like many more people do have dementia.
Exactly.
Because it's really something that we misunderstand. We don't understand it. To the extent it was almost like what you said about your grandmother because she was wrinkled and all that. Imagine somebody being found on the streets. One expert in dementia who cares for dementia patients said that when people are found like that because they have something that is called, I think, the flight, where they just wanderlust. It's called wanderlust. They have wanderlust. And because they have wanderlust,
They just roam.
they just roam.
Yes.
And then they get into
lost.
areas
They
and they get lost. And nobody knows them.
No.
In other climes, they have a dog collar, so that should they get lost, you'll be able to get them back home the way that you'll be able to get a dog or an animal back home. What were the particular things that you noticed about your mother, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Thank you. That's a good question. We had noticed that she had started getting forgetful. That's the first thing. The person gets forgetful. At that time...
Is it the same thing as when people like us leave this room and go into the kitchen and say, why did I come here? Or it's different?
Well, it may be. But the thing is that the percentage may be so low that it's within the limit that is acceptable for your age. That's another thing. There are certain acceptable limits for age. Because indeed the entire body is aging. But when the person can no longer manage one's life, that becomes an issue. Yes, you can go and you go back. And sometimes, so what happened? And you start, I don't know if it happens to you. I keep something somewhere, and then I start saying, that was like 15 minutes ago. I start trying to track my step.
Your step
back, and you might find it. But you see, you might get to a point that there's suddenly a gap. And
that tracking mechanism is no longer there.
There's this gap. I don't know what happened in this gap.
Yes.
So you notice you start having breakages in the link. So that can be something. But how did I begin to notice my mother? My mother's once, like I said, she started getting forgetful, and immediately people around her, because she was not with me, began to take advantage. So if you are sending money, suddenly You send a substantial amount that is supposed to last for 1 month, and next week she calls, I don't have any money. Meanwhile, she does not buy new clothes by herself. She does not buy new shoes by herself. But people keep on coming around, because the moment they realize that she is forgetful, then they begin to take advantage.
And that's one of the things about the elderly, people taking advantage of them.
Yes. So that was, but you know, my mother's nature, she was very firm. She wanted to stay at home where she was comfortable. So she was not interested in this Lagos matter. You know, even if she came, after a week, 2 weeks, she wants to go back. So what then happened, and her sight was getting poor at that stage. So one time I came to visit her, and on my way back, I made an arrangement with the bus, you know, to pick me up in Oka. So I had to leave early in the morning. The bus is coming from Enugu. I left early in the morning. I got to Oka. Before the bus came, my mother had had a fall.
Oh.
So I turned right back. The following day, I whipped her down to Lagos. And that was
enough for you to say.
That was the end of the matter.
Yes.
Yes. So that's how she came down. Otherwise, she would never have come by choice. She would never have come by choice. So we need to be sensitive. I could not leave her. Now she's falling. How can I leave her and go when I know she can be falling all over the place? You know?
Because one of the things about aging also is brittle bones and falling because of the degenerative nature of the skeletal frame. Yes.
You know, falls, the brittle degeneration of the bones, and the fact that we don't normally exercise our bones to strengthen it. So because a lot of people should actually exercise. As we get older, we must continue to stretch our bones, you know, stretch our ligaments, so that if we trip, we are able to, you know, stop ourselves crashing to the ground.
How challenging was it to cope with the care of your mother?
Initially, it was not very challenging, because remember, she was partially still in control of her life, in control of the things around her. She knew what she wanted and so on and so forth, you know. But as time went on, you could see clearly that there was, you know,
a decline.
Yes, a real decline in her regular abilities, which was very much worsened by the fact that she was losing her sight. I mean, that is the ultimate. The first time she discovered that her sight was weak, because she had surgery in both eyes for the, you know,
cataract?
No, the other one.
Glaucoma?
For glaucoma, you know, and it was as if she was going to lose her sight. My mother was ready to die. She said, she cannot live without her sight. You cannot decide how you live.
Yes.
However you live, you thank God for it, you know. And that was before everything else came on top of it. So, so she began to lose her sight. In addition to this second problem that she had, not being able, you know, not being able to realize things that were happening around her. You know, remember things that were happening around her. Doing some rather unusual things. When you take a plastic container, put some water in it, and then put it on a gas stove, and put it on. So now you can see, there is a container of water, yes, but it's not iron, it's plastic.
It's plastic.
That doesn't sink. So you find that you now have to become much
attentive,
more careful, you know, more careful. So it was at that point it became clear that we needed to get nurses to come in and keep an eye on her, check her blood pressure, you know, make sure she ate properly. Soon after that, we had to start feeding her.
You were lucky you could cope with taking care of mama, getting nurses and things like that? What do you say, or what would you say about those people who are not able to afford it? What should we be doing in Nigeria?
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. I think first of all, government has a responsibility, because it is through government that those who are not in a position to know certain things or to do certain things begin to learn it. I know that I have a relation that is married in Ghana, and when they go to health centers and so on, lectures are given to people.
Enlightenment lectures,
yes, enlightenment
sensitization.
lectures, various things. So we need a lot of that in Nigeria. We need a lot of that in Nigeria. We've started a bit of orientation, but we need orientation in every area. We need orientation in loving, in caring. We need orientation in teaching people about how we grow old, the problems that come with the elderly, and I tell you that we will be old someday. So if we care for people around us today, and if it becomes a way of life to love and care for the elderly, then by the grace of God, when we also grow old,
then
there you go.
So that it must be a continuous cycle
continuous.
Of caring.
And it must be a way of life. And I believe it's a major thing, because many people, there's so much hunger. But you see, if government can take it seriously, I believe that people can begin to understand. When you say it will happen to you, some people will say, okay, let me listen to this.
Especially the young ones.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we want Quarterpast 65 to talk about is the intergenerational. We want to have an intergenerational dialogue about how you perceive the elderly and how you yourself prepare for your old age.
Yes.
And apart from that, how you benefit from the experiences, the wisdom, the challenges that the elderly have gone through. So for Mama, you were lucky. You were able to take care of her. Kudos to your siblings. It looks like all of you rallied, although you were the main caregiver.
I must tell you, yes, I was the main caregiver, but that was not enough. The truth of the matter was that I was not satisfied. So that may be a bit unusual. I was not satisfied by the help that we were getting. So I actually started to take it on personally.
Welcome back to Quarterpast 65. Now we're talking about caring for your mother, having carers who know what they're supposed to do. What were your experiences? How were you able to navigate this very difficult terrain of finding carers that knew what you wanted and were willing to do what you wanted?
Okay. It was difficult because, I grew up in a hospital. My father was a doctor. So, and I would do holiday work, checking blood pressure and pulses. So I knew all of this. And there was a time I went to the US, I did the course for caring, not realizing that I was going to apply this for my mother. So it was a few years after I came back, all of this started. And so I couldn't, I knew exactly what I wanted for her. And so I was the one who was supervising. I would supervise the change of sheets. And these are people who really knew it. Because I discovered that the nurses here are given full training. Yes, I discovered. I can say that easily. But it's not most of them that have the caring ability. So it's this caring thing. That's the bottom line. Caring. So, it got to a point, after a while, these people will go, you get these ones, because it's not just a question of coming and taking salary. I want to go away and feel satisfied that my mother is being cared for, that she is being fed gently. Feeding may take half an hour, 45 minutes, later even an hour to feed.
I can tell you that. I have that experience.
So
my mother feeds herself, but her feeding routine takes 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and we let her be.
Yes, because that is her rate right now. My mother passed on at 91. And like I said, she had dementia, and she also had she had glaucoma that deteriorated, so she needed all-round care. So I found that I always came in to check. When she's taking a bath, she has to be given her bath on the bed, so I have to be there and see how it's changed from the sheet to the
other sheet, yes, and the Macintosh.
The Macintosh, how it changed from the sheet to the Macintosh and back to the sheet, So I have to be there. I'm there to see that her hair is washed. I washed her hair right there every week, So I clean her up. I make sure, even if I don't do it every day, every 2 days, 3 days, I want to give her a bath. When I give her a bath myself, all those little areas, I notice areas that are about to break.
Yes.
I have to catch it. I notice all these things, areas that are not properly cleaned. I notice. So if I was not doing it personally, it does not matter whichever professional did it. They may not take that time and care.
So you were properly invested.
I was in there. In fact, there was I told you there was a time for 2 months I was tired and frustrated. So I had nobody. I took care of my mother for 2 months, morning, night. Sometimes I want to move her and carry her, and I'm not able to, both of us to fall on the bed. I will laugh. She'll laugh, I laugh. And I say, okay, Mama, let's continue, But, I would sleep on the mattress in the floor in her room. Whenever we get up in the morning, we start again. I did that for 2 months because, it gets to a point of frustration. You say, enough. So it's not really what's going to be easy for everybody, I must say. It will not. Some people, they are younger. Some people, they're working. Their work will not permit them, but you must create some little time. If you love this person as you love your children, if it was your children, you will create time. So this is the person that loves you that way. This person loved you that way, the way you love your children. So now it's the other way around, The person has invested.
So you must be able
to now to reap from you what she has invested. That joy, what you are, is from that same person, So I think that is the encouragement we have. It is for those who do not have sufficient finances, for example. They may have the love and care, but they don't have the finances, or they don't have the knowledge.
Is it expensive?
It depends. If you are taking care of your parents yourself, it's your time. And question becomes, are you working? How much of your time can you give? You can say, okay, you clean her up in the morning and go to work. Or even if you're a trader, you clean her up in the morning and go trade. Somebody is caring for her. Once you finish, you come back. You know that you're taking care of her in the evening.
But you need to be checking.
You need to
see what happens at home.
You need. My prayer is, please check. This is your mother. This is your father. Please check.
This is your uncle.
Don't leave it to somebody all alone. Remember, think back to when you were a child. Think back to the love and care this same person gave you. Think back to who you are today. It's the same person. So you can't just say, okay, I can afford it. You give the person the dozen, give them. It's not enough. You must be there. Because whenever you come, there's special joy in her heart that you have touched her. Oh, before I forget, touch. Touch. We don't touch in Nigeria, but you must touch. Touch shows love. And that's what they need badly. Whenever you are caring, Mama, come. Mama, how are Daddy, Papa? How are you, sweet Daddy? Ma, you don't know what it does to them. You don't know what it does to them. Please, we must touch and show our love through touching.
Yes.
You know, it's very important. It's very important. I want to tell you about my my godmother's husband, who was away in the US to the hospital. Eventually, he was brought back. We came to visit one day, and he was so delighted. You know the story he told me? He said, oh, those nurses in America. I'm telling you, that whenever they come, there was one that he liked so much that she would just come and touch him like this. My Lord, you see, they have their desires, you know, everything, what they are, who they are. People don't change. So if somebody who likes for people to be known, it doesn't matter the age. It is still in that person's, you know, desire to be held warmly. So please, let us not, I think that what I want to leave is that we must think about the elderly as we are today. If I'm 40, think of yourself as that, because it is only your physical bones, you know, and your mind and stuff, your knees that are getting weak. But who you are never changes.
Never changes.
Who you are, let me tell you, who you were when you were 5 is who you are when you are 50 and 60 and 80. So if we remember that, it will help us to keep a relationship, you know, keep that person loved. This is probably a person who was the greatest philanthropist in his or her time.
And in the family.
And in the family. So, is it now a sin that he was blessed with age? Age is a blessing, you know. So, we must always remember to show love and care. Bottom line, and if we're talking for the nation, for government to find ways to get us to express love and care to the elderly.
And provide the facilities,
and provide
have the enabling policies and all that will make sure that the carers provide love.
Yes.
And that there is enough money, financing out there to take care of them.
If you see, if those in positions of power and authority, if those that take these decisions understand the essence of love and care, there wouldn't be any problem in what we are saying today. You know, because they will make sure that all the facilities are put in place, all the financial needs are put in place. So I think even from that point, at every level, it's not just for the poor. You know, generally in Nigeria, it's as if we don't understand the importance of life. You know, so let us talk about life and life changes, and it applies
and sustainability,
yes, from top to bottom.
I want to congratulate you for what you have shared with us about taking care of your mother who had dementia, and sharing with us the things that we need to watch out for. And I found out something, that in order to keep recreating yourself, apart from going to pastoral college to learn more about the Bible, you said you started sewing. I know that they have said, oh, learn something new, learn a new language, dance and all that. What was it, or what is it that motivates you, that keeps you going so that you keep recreating yourself. And I know also that you took up gardening, but you're a walker.
Thank you, thank you. Let us pray for the energy, and the Lord will grant it. I've always liked to use my hands, you know, and the nature of work I had been doing did not permit it. So I found myself always kind of pushed to the corner. So now, a couple years ago, I started learning how to sew.
After more than 40 years at the bar.
Yeah, so I started learning how to sew. More than I'm wearing, I made myself. So I'm picking up gradually. So I'm happy about it. Secondly, you know, there's a lot of talk these days about organic food. So, and I thought, well, if whatever little space I have, why don't I start doing something?
Because I saw ugu in pots.
Yes, even now I want to now do it properly. I even tried the corn. I was not successful, but by next time I expect I will be successful. I have various vegetables. I have the oregano. I have the dill. You know, and I have the herbs. I have some herbs, and I make tea, and I chew them naturally. So I'm doing all this to keep myself rather quite occupied. Sometimes if I'm weak, you know, and I can't run around too much, then I keep myself busy at home. You know, I don't like lying in bed. I always want to do something. And I'm delighted about that. I'm delighted about that. And in fact, it's something that I plan to keep doing. In addition to my exercises and my walks and my stretches, you know, it's something I would, in fact, it's one area of my life that I would like to recommend for the 65 and above. Yes, that we should always do our exercises. We should do stretches. Not only walks, because I noticed that what we are doing is that we are walking. That is fine. We should also stretch.
In other words, do some yoga.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can do yoga. You can do regular stretches that, you know, that touch different muscles of your body. And for those who are home, you should do housework, sweeping. You will discover that every housework you do deals with a different muscle, and you need all your muscles to be exercised. So that is my takeaway I'd like to give everybody. You know, I think that's one positive, and I pray that I continue. I don't want to be lazy about it. I want to continue it.
You won't roll over and play dead.
No.
Until it is your time.
Until it is over. Yes.
It's been wonderful. I'm sure we could continue just talking, and everything we talk about revolves around love. Loving and caring for the elderly. And loving ourselves too.
Yes, as the elderly.
And making sure that for as long as God gives us life, we do the things that we need to do to keep going. It's been wonderful talking to you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's time once again for us to draw the curtain on today's program of Quarterpast 65. We've had a wonderful program talking with Dame Barrister Nneka MBA. She's talked to us about caring for the elderly, especially the elderly with dementia, and also talking about keeping ourselves fit so that we can keep going. Please join us on our social media handles: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Until we come your way again with another very interesting episode about the challenges, the experiences, the wisdom that the elderly have. Bye for now.